"Don't take another step," she whispered, her voice trembling like a fading star. "I'm not here to harm you," Leo said gently, lifting his empty hands as the wind howled through the abandoned ridge. "Please let me help." A single heartbeat of silence followed, sharp, cold, and heavy. Then the world shifted. Below them, the canyon lights flickered unnaturally, as if something ancient had begun to stir. A shimmer of blue light flickered across the sky, too fast, too silent, too deliberate. It carved a single glowing arc before vanishing, as if someone had sliced the night open and stitched it shut again. In that impossible moment, Leo understood one thing: nothing about this girl was ordinary. Why was she alone on a planet like this? Why did the air twist around her like an invisible shield? And why did her eyes hold galaxies of fear? He didn't know yet, not even close, but he felt a truth pulling him forward. There was no time. The ground rumbled with a low, metallic groan. Far off, towering pillars of amber light shot up from the canyon floor, one after another, marking a pattern like a countdown. Something was waking or warning them or hunting them. Whatever it was getting closer. Myra stepped back, panic sharp in her breath. "You shouldn't be here, Leo." "And you shouldn't be alone," he replied. A gust of cold wind tore through the ravine, carrying a hum, not a sound of nature but a precision-made frequency that vibrated in the bones. Leo flinched. Myra froze. The hum pulsed again, louder this time, rippling through the cliffs like a distant roar. The message was clear. They were being tracked. Leo didn't know by who. Myra refused to say. But the fear in her eyes wasn't the fear of capture, it was the fear of destruction that would follow. She steadied herself and looked at him, her voice fragile. "I should never have asked for shelter. You need to leave, now." "And walk away from someone in danger," Leo shook his head. "Not happening." Her breath hitched. She wasn't used to someone choosing her without hesitation, not with the truth she carried, not with the danger she brought. A bright flare exploded in the sky, white, circular, silent, like an eye blinking open. Leo instinctively stepped in front of her. "Tell me what that is." Myra hesitated. The urgency pressed against her like a tightening chain. She didn't want to drag him deeper into her fate. She didn't want him hurt. But the flare overhead began shrinking, focusing into a thin beam pointed straight at them. She had no choice. "It's a locator," she said quietly. "They've found me." "Who?" She swallowed hard. "The ones who want to steal everything I am." The beam began to descend. Leo's heart pounded. He grabbed Myra's wrist. "Then we run together." Her eyes widened, not because of fear but because she wasn't expecting kindness. Not after everything she had escaped. Not after everything she carried. The beam hit the ground behind them, scorching the stone with a hiss. Time was gone. Leo pulled her into motion. She stumbled, but he didn't let go. Above them, the flare intensified, and the hum grew louder, chasing them through the darkness like a mechanical predator. As they fled, Myra risked one glance at him, this stranger who didn't know her lineage, her power, or her impossible burden. He didn't know she was the wealthiest ruler in the galaxy. He didn't know entire fleets would burn for her. He didn't know she had fled her throne to save billions. And yet he offered his hand. The wind roared, the canyon lit up, the hunt had begun. But for the first time in a long time, Myra felt something stronger than fear. Hope. The night split open with a streak of silver light as Leo and Myra sprinted across the jagged ridge. The hum behind them deepened into a low, pursuing growl, steady, mechanical, unrelenting. Each pulse vibrated through the stones beneath their feet as if the ground itself was warning them to run faster. "Don't look back," Leo shouted. He didn't need to. Myra already felt the energy building behind them like a pressure in her chest. The locator beam wasn't just searching, it was guiding something, something faster than them, something that didn't tire. Her breath caught as a burst of heat brushed the back of her neck. A warning shot, too close. Leo's hand tightened around hers. "We need cover, anything." "There's a fissure ahead," Myra gasped. "A narrow one, it leads down into the old tunnels." "How narrow?" "Just trust me." The hum escalated into a piercing resonance as a black silhouette broke through the flare's light, sleek, angular, and gliding like a hunting blade. Its surface shimmered with blue lattice lines, forming symbols Leo had never seen. Myra knew them all too well. "Sentinel drone," she whispered. "They sent a Class IV." Leo didn't know what that meant, but her trembling voice told him enough. Bad, very bad. The fissure appeared, a thin shadow in the rock face, barely wide enough for a person. Myra squeezed through first. Leo followed, scraping his shoulder against the stone. The drone swooped low, firing another hot beam that scorched the rocks inches behind Leo's boots. Inside the fissure, darkness swallowed them whole. The air was cold and heavy, thick with ancient dust, but at least the drone couldn't follow, it was too large. They descended into the tunnels, each step echoing in hollow chambers. Leo leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Myra placed a hand over her heart, steadying herself. "You okay?" he asked softly. She nodded, but her eyes flickered with guilt. "You shouldn't be here. I've put you in danger, Leo." "You didn't put me anywhere," he replied. "I chose to stay." His simplicity disarmed her. People didn't choose her. They obeyed her, deceived her, or feared her. But Leo was something else entirely. A distant rumble echoed through the tunnels, vibrating the floor. Myra stiffened. "It's burrowing." "What?" "Class IV drones adjust to the target environment. If they can't fly in, they dig." Leo exhaled in disbelief. "So it's coming through the ground." "Fast." The echoing vibration grew louder, sharper, like metal teeth grinding through stone. "We keep moving," he said firmly. "There's got to be an exit." "There is," she replied faintly, "but it's risky." "Everything tonight is risky." Myra mustered a small, shaky smile. "Down this way." She led them deeper until the tunnel opened into a vast cavern filled with towering crystal-like pillars glowing softly in shades of violet and blue. Their surfaces hummed with gentle frequencies, soothing, melodic, almost alive. Leo stared in awe. "What is this place?" "Stone," she whispered. "It amplifies energy. My ancestors mined it centuries ago." "Your ancestors?" She caught herself hesitating. "I'll explain later." Before Leo could respond, the cavern trembled violently. A tunnel wall split open as the drone burst through, shedding rock and dust. Its blue lattice lines burned brighter, scanning for movement. Myra grabbed Leo's arm. "Get behind the crystal, they distort tracking." They ducked behind a tall pillar as the drone swept its sensors across the chamber. The stone vibrated, producing a low harmonic wave that obscured their presence. The drone hesitated. Then another tremor, this one softer, not dangerous, just different. Myra placed her palm on the crystal. It glowed brighter beneath her touch, responding as if recognizing her. Leo watched silently. "Myra, what are you?" She lowered her gaze. Someone who ran from everything she was supposed to be. The drone emitted a harsh, frustrated beep. It hadn't found them, but it wasn't leaving. A countdown tone began to sound from its core. Myra's face drained of color. "It's charging an overload blast," she whispered. "It'll collapse the entire cavern." "How long?" "Seconds." Leo grabbed her hand again, firm, unwavering. "Then we move, now." She looked at him, breath trembling. And for the first time, she didn't feel alone. The cavern shuddered as the drone's countdown pulsed through the air, slow at first, then accelerating into a rapid staccato that rattled the crystal pillars. Each beep carved urgency into the air like a blade. Leo didn't wait. He pulled Myra into motion, weaving between the towering stones as the drone's core glowed brighter, charging an explosion strong enough to bury them in an instant. "Where's the exit?" he shouted over the rising hum. Myra pointed toward a far corner where the cavern dipped into shadow. "There, the miners carved an emergency shaft. It should still be stable." "Should?" "It's centuries old, Leo." Behind them the drone's glow sharpened, turning white-hot. The crystals closest to it began to crack, shedding shimmering fragments that chimed as they hit the ground like falling glass bells. A sudden jolt knocked Leo sideways. He slammed against a pillar, teeth rattling. Myra gasped and steadied him. "You're hurt," she breathed. "Not enough to stop," he gritted. The drone screeched, a piercing, metallic cry as it locked onto their movement. A thin beam snapped toward them, slicing through a crystal with a blinding flash. The fractured shards burst into a cloud of glowing dust. Leo shielded Myra with his body, as the dust swirled around them like violet smoke. "Leo," she whispered, stunned, "you didn't have to." "Yes," he said, "I did." His voice was steady, but his heartbeat thundered. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He was just a wanderer with no training, no weapons, and no reason to risk himself. And yet he ran toward danger instead of away from it. They reached the shadowed corner. A narrow shaft stretched upward, steep but climbable. Myra helped Leo onto the first foothold, but he paused when she tried to follow. "You go first," he insisted, "if it blasts while I'm above you." "I'm not leaving you behind," she snapped, surprising even herself. Another destructive pulse shook the cavern. The drone's core flared, seconds left. "Fine," Leo said breathlessly. "We climb together." They scaled the shaft with frantic urgency. Myra's fingers glowed faintly, just enough to illuminate the way without drawing the drone's sensors. She climbed with surprising agility despite the fear twisting inside her. Halfway up, a deep crack echoed below. Leo looked down. The drone had breached the cluster of crystals shielding the shaft. Its core glowed like a tiny star on the edge of eruption. Myra reached back down for Leo's hand. "Hurry." He grabbed her wrist and the shaft shuddered violently. A chunk of stone broke loose beneath them. Leo slipped. Myra caught him with both hands, her face tightening with effort. The glow around her palms brightened, radiating warmth into his skin. Leo's voice trembled. "You're using energy." She didn't answer. She couldn't, not now, not before the blast hit. With a fierce pull that surprised them both, Myra hauled Leo upward. Together they scrambled through the final stretch of the shaft and spilled onto a narrow plateau lit only by distant starlight. "Down," Myra cried, dragging him behind a rock formation. The explosion erupted below. A deafening surge of light shot up the shaft, followed by a shockwave that tossed dust and small rocks into the air. The plateau quaked but held. Leo lay flat, chest heaving. Myra's hand rested over her heart, her breath sharp and uneven. "We made it," she whispered. For a long moment, neither moved. The night was silent again, too silent. The destruction beneath them left only a faint hiss of settling stone. Then Leo sat up slowly and turned to her. "You saved my life back there," he said softly. Myra looked away. "You saved mine first." Leo studied her, her trembling fingers, her shimmering eyes, her quiet strength wrapped in fear. "Myra, who's chasing you? Why send something like that for one person?" She hugged her arms around herself. "Because I'm not just one person." The stars reflected in her eyes like fractured light. "I am Myra Solas, heir of the throne and the wealthiest ruler in the galaxy." Leo blinked, stunned into silence. Before he could respond, a distant rumble rolled across the plateau. Not from below. From above. Myra's face paled. "They sent more." Leo stood, determination hardening his voice. "Then we're not done yet." A thin streak of golden light cut across the sky, silent, swift, and unnervingly precise. It wasn't a meteor. Leo knew that instantly. Meteors didn't move in perfect arcs or pulse with deliberate rhythm. Myra rose slowly, her expression tightening into something between dread and resolve. "That's not a drone," she whispered. "That's a seeker." Leo's pulse quickened, stronger. Not stronger, smarter. The seeker's glide was eerily graceful, almost beautiful, like a floating ribbon of light tracing patterns in the night. But each loop it made brought it closer to the plateau, adjusting its path, scanning for energy signatures. Leo stepped closer to Myra. "How many did they send after you?" "Enough to remind me that I'm not meant to run," she murmured bitterly. Her cloak flapped in the cold wind as she stared at the sky, the glow briefly outlining the insignia stitched inside, something Leo hadn't noticed before. Elegant, sharp lines forming a crest he didn't recognize. "Royal crest?" he asked quietly. She hesitated. "The crest of the house." Leo folded that away for later. For now, the seeker descended further, its glow scanning the ridge, skimming the plateaus with surgical precision. "We need to move," Leo said. Myra nodded, but her gaze lingered on the seeker with a strange sadness, as if she once knew the hand that built it, as if this chase wasn't just about survival, but about something deeply personal. They descended the rocky slope, careful not to dislodge stones that might echo across the canyon. The seeker drifted overhead like a silent moon, its light sweeping across the terrain. Myra stopped suddenly. "Leo, cover your heartbeat." Leo blinked. "Cover my what?" "They track rhythm, breath, pulse, everything that lives." Leo pressed a hand to his chest instinctively. "How do you cover a heartbeat?" Myra took his hand and placed it against her palm. A faint warmth seeped into his skin, calming the pounding pulse in his chest, smoothing it to a slower rhythm. Her breath shivered. "I can mask us, but not for long." He couldn't help but stare. "You're full of surprises." She met his eyes briefly, then looked away fast, almost shy. "You deserve the truth, but not here." The seeker emitted a single, sharp chime, a warning note. It had found a faint trace of something, maybe the remnants of the drone's explosion, maybe the shimmering dust still settling. Maybe them. The light beam swept closer. "Down," Myra whispered urgently. Leo dropped beside her behind a ridge of jagged stones. The seeker passed overhead, humming like a distant violin string stretched too tight. "Where do we go now?" he whispered. Myra pointed toward a narrow pass between two looming cliffs. "There, the passage leads to the river fields. The minerals in the water distort scanners." They crept toward the passage as silently as possible, but halfway through, the seeker angled its beam downward again, brighter than before. Myra froze. It caught a trace. "Hell?" Her voice was barely a breath. "Because I'm tired." My energy shield slipped. The seeker dove sharply, a golden streak speeding toward them. Leo grabbed her hand. "Run." They sprinted down the passage, stones clattering underfoot. The seeker let out a rising pitch, almost like a cry, before shooting a blazing beam that struck the cliff wall, igniting the stone with molten heat. Myra stumbled. Leo caught her, half carrying her forward. The exit to the river fields came into view, glowing faintly blue from mineral reflections. "We're almost there," he shouted. But Myra's steps faltered again. "Leo, I can't keep masking us. My energy." "You don't need to," he said, pulling her along. "Just hold on." The seeker's light shot past them, scorching the passage ahead and collapsing part of the exit. Dust filled the air. A wall of rock blocked their path. Myra's voice trembled. "We're trapped." "No," Leo said, scanning the walls desperately. "There has to be." The seeker approached slowly, deliberately, savoring its victory like a predator cornering prey. Myra stepped in front of Leo, lifting her shaking hands. "Stay behind me." "Myra." "No," she said, voice suddenly steady. "It ends with me. It always was meant to." Leo grabbed her shoulders. "Not tonight." The seeker's golden core opened, preparing a capture burst. Myra closed her eyes, whispering something he couldn't hear. Leo didn't think. He moved. He stepped in front of her. The seeker fired, and the world exploded in light. The blast struck Leo square in the chest, yet instead of tearing through him, it shattered into 1,000 shards of golden light that spun harmlessly away like sparks from a dying fire. Myra's eyes widened in disbelief. "Leo, how?" He didn't know. He only felt a strange warmth rippling through him, like the lingering echo of Myra's energy earlier, soft, steady, protective. It pulsed once, then faded. The seeker froze midair, scanning furiously. Its lens flickered in confusion. The shot had been direct, but its target remained standing. Leo grabbed Myra's hand. "Move." But the seeker wasn't done. A low, furious pulse built inside it, glowing brighter every second. The cliff walls trembled under the rising vibration. Myra's voice tightened. "It's charging again, stronger." I figured, Leo said through his teeth. We need another way out. The collapsed rocks still smoked, but Leo pushed against them anyway, testing for weak points. He found none. The passage was sealed like a tomb. Then Myra touched the stone, and the faintest shimmer ran beneath her fingertips. There. What? A thin fault line. If I focus, I might open it just enough. Do it. She hesitated. Leo, if I use more energy, I won't be able to shield either of us again. He stepped closer. Myra, we don't survive this unless you try. Her throat bobbed. Then she nodded, placed both palms against the stone, and closed her eyes. Light blossomed around her hands, soft violet, then deep blue, then a brilliant silver. The stone groaned, shifting under her command. Cracks formed, spreading like veins of light. The seeker screeched behind them, its wings folding inward as it prepared another blast. Hurry, Leo urged. I'm trying. The fissure widened small, but enough for one person to slip through. Myra stumbled back, drained. Sweat dotted her brow. Leo, go. He shook his head. You first. There isn't time, go. The seeker's core locked onto them, spinning as it prepared to fire. Leo shoved her toward the fissure. Myra, please. But instead of obeying, she grabbed him by the collar and yanked him down just as the seeker shot its beam. The blast skimmed over them, scorching the stone where Leo's head had been seconds before. He stared at her, breathing hard. You just saved you? Myra managed a weak smile. We're even. The seeker rose for another strike. Leo didn't argue again. He pulled Myra toward the fissure, guiding her through the narrow gap. She slipped out the other side, landing on a steep slope of mineral sand that glittered under moonlight. Leo squeezed through next, scraping his shoulder on the jagged rock. Behind them, the seeker rammed the cliff face, trying to force its way in. Cracks spread, dust falling like snow. Go, Leo urged, helping Myra stand. The slope led down into a sprawling field of shimmering silver water, rivers flowing in intricate patterns that sparkled like moving stars. Mist rose in soft waves, humming with mineral resonance. Myra exhaled in relief. River fields, the scanners can't track us here. Leo didn't relax, but it's breaking through. Maybe, she admitted, but the moment it enters this field, its systems will distort. If we reach the center, we'll be invisible. Together they slid down the slope, the sand whispering beneath their feet. Behind them, the seeker clawed at the rock, bright cracks marking its progress. Once they reached the nearest river, Myra dipped her hand into the shimmering water. A soft glow rippled outward, the river responding to her presence. Leo stared. It reacts to you. Everything from my world does. Your world? She hesitated, but only for a moment. I wasn't just a ruler, Leo. I was born with a bond to energy. The wealth of my empire isn't just gold or crystal, it's life itself. Resonance. Power that others would destroy galaxies to control. The seeker burst through the cliff at last, tumbling into the river field. Its golden glow flickered wildly, sensors malfunctioning at contact with the water. Myra grabbed Leo's hand. Come on. They ran across the shimmering banks, mist coiling around them like silver smoke. The seeker staggered behind, losing stability, emitting frantic static. Leo glanced back. It's failing. Not enough, Myra said breathlessly. It'll still track disruption. We need the center just a little farther. The river field pulsed beneath them, glowing brighter. But just as hope surged, a shadow fell across the sky. Leo looked up. A massive shape descended through the clouds, silent, enormous, unmistakably a ship. Myra's face went pale. They found me. The ship descended with the weight of inevitability, vast, obsidian black, and shaped like a falling crown. Its underbelly glowed with concentric rings of cold white light, rippling outward as it scanned the river fields below. The water answered with uneasy shimmers, its natural resonance warping under the vessel's oppressive presence. Myra's knees almost buckled. That's a sovereign-class cruiser. Leo steadied her. Yours. Her silence was answer enough. The cruiser's lights swept across the mist, dimming every time they neared her, as if the ship recognized the energy she carried. Myra's heartbeat quickened. This wasn't just any cruiser. This was hers, the flagship she had abandoned, the one sworn to obey her command. But it wasn't here to obey. It was here to reclaim. Or eliminate. "Myra," Leo said softly, "can they see us?" She shook her head, her voice thin. "The rivers are masking us for now, but the cruiser won't search alone." Even before she finished, the sky fractured with 3 slender trails of silver. Smaller crafts, sleek, needle-like interceptors, emerged beneath the cruiser, descending toward the river fields in perfect formation. Leo's jaw tightened. "Those look fast." "They are," Myra whispered, "and they don't malfunction in resonance fields. They're piloted, not automated." Piloted by who? She closed her eyes, pain flickering across her face. "My council, the ones who refused to listen, the ones who insisted I should rule by fear." "And you did?" Leo asked. Her eyes opened, bright, wounded, fierce. "No, that's why I left." A distant hum rippled across the water as the interceptors neared. Their lights glowed blue, not gold, gentler but far more focused. Leo turned to her. "Okay, so tell me how we escape." Myra looked across the field toward a distant cluster of glowing rock formations rising like jagged spires. "There, the Heart Basin. The resonance is strongest. If we reach it, I can mask us completely." "Then we go now." They ran, their footsteps kicking up pale mist. The rivers around them chimed as they passed, soft, musical tones that blended like distant wind chimes. Myra's presence stirred the water more strongly now, sending vibrating ripples that formed delicate patterns behind them. But the interceptors noticed. Their lights flared. "They've located our trail," Myra gasped. Leo didn't look back, "Just keep going." But Myra already felt the pressure building in the air. The interceptors weren't firing weapons. They were adjusting atmospheric resonance, collapsing the field's natural distortion. Their ship lights twisted the mist, draining it of its protective shimmer. The river field was losing its magic. Leo heard the shift too, a sudden silence where the water's hum had been. He looked at Myra. Her face had gone pale. "They're nullifying the energy," she whispered. "They're forcing the field to quiet. So you can't hide us." "I can try," she said shakily, "but I don't know if it'll be strong enough." Leo slowed, placing his hands on her shoulders. "Myra, I've seen what you can do. You're stronger than you think." She swallowed hard, and the smallest tremor passed through her. But something about Leo's certainty steadied her. She lifted her hands. Light swelled from her palms, spreading across the misty ground like a gentle wave. The rivers responded, glowing brighter. The interceptor's scanners flickered. For a moment, just a moment, the field sang again. Then Myra staggered, nearly collapsing. Leo caught her. Hey, stay with me." "I'm fine," she whispered, though her voice wavered. "But we need to move, now." They continued, Myra leaning on him yet refusing to fall. The Heart Basin grew closer, its crystalline spires pulsing with deep blue resonance. But a sharp beam of light cut in front of them. An interceptor landed on the riverbank ahead, its wings folding with metallic grace. The cockpit opened. A figure stepped out, tall, regal, eyes like frozen fire. "Myra Solas," the figure called, "your flight ends here." Myra's breath hitched. "Cyrus." Leo looked between them. "Friend." She shook her head, trembling. "No, my betrothed, appointed by the council." Cyrus stepped forward, gaze fixed on her with a chilling calm. "You were never meant to run, Myra, and he," his eyes flicked to Leo, "is not meant to stand beside you." Leo instinctively stepped in front of her. Cyrus smiled faintly. "Then he'll be the first to fall." Cyrus approached with measured steps, each one rippling the silver river beneath him as if the water recoiled from his presence. His armor shimmered with insignias, sharp lines, cold brilliance, and the unmistakable weight of a throne Myra had never wanted. Leo positioned himself between them, breath steady despite the tension knotting in his chest. "You don't have to do this," Leo said. Cyrus tilted his head, almost curious. A wanderer speaks to a sovereign successor as an equal. Myra, you've fallen further than I thought. Myra stiffened. Enough, Cyrus, let us go. Let you go, he laughed softly, though his eyes held no humor. You fled your empire. You abandoned a contract sealed by the council. And for what? To wander among commoners, to hide among dust and stone. Myra's fingers tightened around Leo's sleeve. Leo stepped forward. She didn't abandon anything, she chose peace. Cyrus's gaze hardened. You dare speak of her choices? He raised a hand, energy gathering in his palm like condensed starlight. She was meant to be guided, protected from her own softness. And you, who are you to stand in my way? Before Leo could reply, Myra moved beside him, her voice trembling yet resolute. He is the first person in years who has treated me as more than a crown. Something flickered across Cyrus's face, anger, disbelief, maybe even jealousy, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. Then he dies for it, Cyrus said quietly. He thrust his hand forward. A spear of white energy shot toward Leo. Myra reacted instinctively. Her own energy burst outward, intercepting the attack in a cascade of violet light. The river beneath them surged, singing with force. Cyrus staggered back. Myra, your power has grown. It grows with who I choose to protect, she said. Leo looked at her, astonished. She didn't look like a cornered princess anymore. She looked like a ruler, one who might finally be discovering her own strength. Cyrus recovered quickly, lifting both hands as twin blades of starlight formed in his grasp. Enough games. Leo grabbed Myra's hand. We need to get to the basin. The heart basin pulsed ahead, its crystalline spires rising like luminous towers. Myra nodded, and they sprinted toward it as Cyrus launched forward with impossible speed. Leo, down, Myra cried. A blade of light slashed through the air where Leo's head had been a heartbeat earlier. The ground exploded in a shower of shimmering fragments. Leo rolled, pulling Myra with him. Cyrus struck again, fierce, precise. Myra countered with a shield of violet light that wavered under the force but held. You can't win, Myra, Cyrus said. Not against the council's heir, not against me. Myra's voice broke, but not with fear. With you, Cyrus, I never tried to win. Her shield faltered. Leo leapt forward, intercepting Cyrus with nothing but instinct. The moment Cyrus's blade touched him, it shattered again, scattering harmless sparks. Cyrus recoiled, shock rippling across his features. What are you? Leo shook his head, breath ragged. Someone who won't let you hurt her. Myra stared at him in awe. The same warm energy that had protected him earlier now pulsed brightly around him, an echo of her own power, awakened by proximity. Cyrus hissed, furious, You've bonded with him. Myra blinked, bonded. Leo had no idea what that meant, but Cyrus clearly did. He strode forward again, but this time Myra didn't retreat. She raised her hand, and the entire river field responded. Silver mist rose, swirling around her in a protective storm. Myra, what are you doing? Leo asked. Her eyes glowed with a calm, resolute light. Ending this. Energy pulsed outward in a sweeping wave. The rivers sang, the crystals shook, and the very air vibrated with resonance. Cyrus's blades shattered, his armor dimmed, and he was flung back across the water, landing hard against the far bank. The interceptors in the sky flickered, losing command signals. The cruiser overhead dimmed, its lights fading like a candle in the wind. Silence. Myra collapsed to her knees, drained. Leo caught her before she fell completely. Myra, are you all right? She nodded weakly. It's done, they can't track us now. The bond protected you and amplified me. Leo held her close as the last echoes of energy faded. What happens now? He asked softly. Myra looked up at him, eyes shimmering, not with fear but with fragile hope. Now, she whispered, I get to choose my own future, and if you're willing, I'd like you to be part of it. Leo smiled, gentle, amazed, certain. I already am. The river fields glowed peacefully around them, singing a quiet promise. The princess who fled her throne had found something worth running toward.